My name is Nadia. I'm 31 years old. And 2 years ago, I discovered that my own father had been stealing from me for over a decade, money my late mother left specifically for me, hidden inside a trust I never knew existed. The total was $642,000. Every single cent was gone. I need to start from the beginning so you understand how perfectly this was hidden. I grew up in a small town outside Philadelphia. My mother, Grace, was a kind and quiet woman who worked as a pharmacist. She was careful with money, almost obsessively so. She kept journals of every expense. She clipped coupons even when she didn't need to. She used to say, "Money is just stored time, Nadia. Don't let anyone waste your time." I didn't understand what she meant until much later. My father, Richard, was the opposite. He was loud, commanding, the kind of man who walked into a room and expected everyone to adjust. He sold commercial real estate. He drove a BMW. He played golf with judges. He was charming when he needed to be and cold when he didn't. Growing up, I thought he was powerful. Now I know that power and control are very different things. My mother passed away when I was 17. Ovarian cancer. It moved fast. She was diagnosed in March and gone by October. During those last weeks, she held my hand and told me she had taken care of everything. "You'll be okay financially," she whispered. "Your father knows the details. He'll handle it until you're ready." I was too broken to ask questions. I just nodded and cried. After the funeral, my father sat me down and told me my mother had left a small life insurance payout, about $40,000, and that he'd put it in a savings account for my college. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He was my father. I went to Penn State, paid part of my tuition with that money and part with student loans. I graduated with a degree in accounting, which is ironic when you think about what happened next. I moved to Pittsburgh, got a job at a mid-size firm, and started building my life. I called my father every Sunday. He came to visit maybe twice a year. Our relationship was distant but stable. I thought that was just how some families worked after losing a mother. My older brother, Kevin, stayed close to our father. He lived 10 minutes away, worked at a dealership my father's friend owned, and never seemed to struggle financially. He bought a house at 25. He drove a new truck every 2 years. I told myself he was just good with money. I told myself a lot of things. The first crack appeared when I was 27. I was applying for a mortgage and needed some financial history. The loan officer asked me about a trust account linked to my social security number. I stared at her. "What trust account?" She showed me the screen. There was a record of a trust opened in 2006, the year before my mother died, under my name. The original balance listed was $780,000. I felt the room tilt. I called my father that night. I kept my voice calm. I asked him if Mom had ever set up a trust for me. There was a pause, then he said, "Where is this coming from?" Not a yes, not a no, a deflection. I told him the loan officer had flagged something. He sighed and said it was probably a clerical error, maybe something my mother started but never finalized. "Don't chase ghosts, Nadia," he said. "Your mother left what she left." I told you everything? I wanted to believe him. I almost did, but I'm an accountant. Numbers don't lie, and that pause on the phone told me something words never could. I started searching quietly. I requested records from the bank listed on the trust, First Continental in Philadelphia. It took 3 weeks, but they confirmed the trust was real. It had been funded with proceeds from a life insurance policy my mother held through her employer, plus savings she had accumulated separately. The original value, $781,400. The trust named me as the sole beneficiary to receive full control at age 25. I was 27. I should have had access for 2 years already. The bank records showed that my father, listed as the trustee until I turned 25, had been making withdrawals starting just 8 months after my mother's death. Small amounts at first, 2,000 here, 5,000 there, then larger ones, 15,000, 30,000. By the time I turned 25, only 139,000 remained. And in the 6 months after my 25th birthday, when control should have transferred to me, the rest was drained. The last withdrawal was for $68,000 made 11 days after my birthday. He never told me, he never transferred control, he just kept taking. I sat in my apartment with those bank statements spread across my kitchen table and I cried. Not soft tears, the kind of crying that makes your ribs hurt. My mother had spent her entire life saving that money. She had planned for me, she had tried to protect me even after she was gone, and my father had taken it like it was nothing. I didn't call him. Not yet, I needed to be smart about this. The next morning, I called a lawyer named David Hirsch. He specialized in trust and estate litigation. I told him everything. He was quiet for a long time, then said, "This is breach of fiduciary duty at minimum. Depending on what he did with the funds, it could be criminal." He asked me to gather every document I could. Bank statements, the original trust document, any communication with my father about the money. I spent 3 months building that file. I requested the full trust document from the bank's legal department. When it arrived, I read every word. My mother had been specific. The funds were for my education, housing, and financial security. Withdrawals by the trustee were permitted only for expenses directly benefiting the beneficiary, me. My father had used the money for his mortgage, his car payments, Kevin's house down payment, and a vacation property in the Poconos. I found the paper trail for all of it. $62,000 went to Kevin's down payment alone. That house I thought my brother bought with his own hard work, my mother's money paid for it. David filed a formal demand letter in January. It was sent to my father via certified mail, requesting full accounting of the trust assets and restitution of $642,000 in misappropriated funds. My father called me 40 minutes after the letter was delivered. His voice was different, not angry, controlled. "You're going to embarrass this family," he said. "Your mother would be ashamed of you." I held the phone and said nothing for a few seconds. Then I said, "Mom left that money for me, you stole it. We can settle this privately or I'll let a judge decide." He hung up. Kevin called the next day, he was furious. He said I was being selfish, that Dad had used the money to keep the family together after Mom died, that I was tearing everything apart over greed. I asked him if he knew his house down payment came from my trust. Silence. Then he said, "That's different." It wasn't. My father hired a lawyer. They argued the withdrawals were authorized under a broad interpretation of the trust language. David dismantled that argument in one filing, citing the specific clause my mother had written. Solely for the direct benefit of the named beneficiary, paying my father's mortgage was not for my benefit. Funding Kevin's house was not for my benefit. The court date was set for June. I flew to Philadelphia the night before and stayed in a hotel. I didn't sleep. I kept reading my mother's trust document, her handwriting on the original notes the attorney had kept on file. She had written in the margins, "Make sure Nadia is taken care of. She's the responsible one." That line destroyed me and rebuilt me at the same time. In court, my father sat 12 feet away from me. He didn't look at me once. His lawyer tried to paint me as ungrateful, estranged, someone who had abandoned the family. David presented the bank records, the withdrawals, the property records showing where the money went. The judge reviewed everything. She asked my father directly why the trust had not been transferred to me at 25. His lawyer objected. The judge overruled it. My father said he forgot. He forgot. The judge ruled in my favor. She ordered full restitution of $642,000 plus legal fees. She referred the case to the district attorney's office for potential criminal investigation. My father's face went white. Kevin left the courtroom without speaking to me. My father had to sell the Poconos property and refinance his house to pay the judgment. It took 8 months, but I received every dollar. Kevin has never spoken to me since. My father sent me one text message after the final payment cleared. It said, "I hope you're happy." I didn't respond. Here's the truth. I'm not happy about what happened. I'm relieved. There is a difference. I lost my mother, I lost my brother, and I lost the version of my father I thought existed. But I gained something important. I gained the knowledge that my mother tried to protect me and that I was strong enough to finish what she started. It's been 2 years now. I used part of the money to pay off my student loans, something that trust was supposed to cover in the first place. I bought a small house. I put the rest in investments. I keep a framed copy of my mother's handwritten note on my desk. Make sure Nadia is taken care of. I am mom. Finally, if you take anything from my story, let it be these 3 things. First, always know your financial situation. Ask questions, request documents. Don't let anyone tell you it's not your business when it literally is. Second, love and trust are not the same thing. You can love someone and still hold them accountable. Third, silence protects the person who wronged you, not you. Speaking up is not selfish, it is survival. If this story moved you, leave a comment. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like this video and subscribe so more stories like this can reach the people who need them most. You are not alone, and you are not wrong for demanding what is yours.